Hey folks, Nick here from another BookTube channel, and today we're going to be looking at Fantastic Four, number 51 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. This is my favorite issue of my favorite Silver Age Marvel series. This is immediately at the conclusion of the Galactus trilogy, FFs 48 through 50, which introduced the Silver Surfer and Galactus. It was this big cosmic storyline. It was really the biggest that Marvel had ever done at this stage. And they immediately turn around with this standalone issue, which is a lot more personal of a story while still maintaining that, the crazy over-the-top science fiction aspects that readers came to love with the Fantastic Four at this point. It's a very Thing-centric issue, as you can see. The tagline for the issue, the name of it is This Man, This Monster. This is one of the most iconic covers of all time, in my opinion. I love the way that Jack Kirby draws the Thing. I know modern artists, may do it technically better, where he looks like real rock that's moving, but nothing to me beats the original Kirby rendition. I love the way he looks here on this cover, and it's a great cover in general because we've got him front and center. Sue is behind him, pleading for help. Obviously, on her face, she's pleading, pointing behind at Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, who is trapped in some kind of machine. So, what's going on here? Why won't Ben Grimm help his friend? Why is he lamenting? What's going on? So, let's open this up and let's look into it. And we open on the greatest splash page of all time, the greatest opening splash page of all time. I mean, I don't think that that's a crazy thing to say. If you definitely tell me in the comments your personal favorite opening splash, and we can debate. But this is absolute perfection to me because this tells a whole story. From the title to the way the Thing is presented here, this man, this monster, here he is standing out in the rain. And the way Kirby draws the rain is just long, straight, vertical lines that create just sheets of white tinged with blue in front of him, pouring off of him. He's getting soaked here, and he's not bothering with a jacket, no hat, no umbrella. He may be made of rock, but he's still feeling all of this, but he's just letting it all pour on top of him. So you get the sense that he is depressed. He's feeling sorry for himself. He's walking around the city in the rain. And that's just perfectly communicated here, that he's feeling down on himself. So I don't know. I love this opening splash page. Also, shout outs to inker Joe Sinnott. He's my favorite Kirby inker. I think he does a great job of staying true to Kirby's pencils while also just enhancing the material when possible. So the Thing's walking around in the rain, and he's basically just inner monologuing about how miserable he is. He's, I'll never be human again. I'll live and die just the way I am. The cops stop, ask him if he needs any help. And he's like, yeah, he blows them off like, yeah, everything's coming up roses around me. And they drive off. He says, they tried to be helpful. How do you help an orange-skinned freak whose gal gave him the air? So I guess in previous issues, he had a fight with his girlfriend, Alicia. Alicia is the blind niece of the villain, the Puppet Master, who debuted in FF8 or 9? I forget. One of those. I have it somewhere. I haven't read it in a while. And so while he's moping around, he stands in someone's doorway to get out of the rain a little bit. And the man opens his door and invites Ben Grimm inside. And the man explains that he's a scientist, and he also knows what it feels like to be scorned by others and to be ridiculed because of his theories. And he starts talking about Reed Richards a little bit, Mr. Fantastic. And you kind of get the sense that he's not the biggest fan of Reed Richards. He's talking about how if he had, half the money and equipment that Reed did, he'd be just as, I'd have his reputation. I'd have his level of fame. So he doesn't think kindly of Mr. Fantastic. And what he's done here is he has drugged the coffee that he gave Ben Grimm and put him to sleep on the couch. And then in this final panel of the page, he thinks to himself, after tonight, they'll laugh at my theories no longer. I'll have proven myself at last. And then I'll score the greatest triumph of all. Single-handed, I'll destroy the entire Fantastic Four. Thus, I'll prove for all time that I'm the mental superior of Reed Richards. Good 9-panel layout, too, by Kirby. Kirby loves to play with the 6-panel and 9-panel. In the later issues of FF, he'll go with 4-panel a lot, which is really kind of weird. It doesn't always work, but on the strength of his just drawing ability, it works pretty well. But here we're working with a 9-panel grid for the most part. And the scientist, who is unnamed throughout the issue, so I'll just call him the scientist, he's built a duplication apparatus that he keeps in his closet. And this was like a hallmark of Fantastic Four at this time, where every little thing needed to be explained away using technobabble. It was like Stanley's favorite thing to do. So to explain how the thing ended up at this guy's house, when there's so many places in New York he could have stood in front of, how did he stand in front of this guy who has it out for Reed Richards, who's built a duplication apparatus in his closet? How did he end up there? It's explained in this dialogue. It's taken long months of patient planning to lure the thing into this room by using my short-range subliminal influencer. So there we go. All of the children reading this, they can sleep easy at night. It all makes sense now. It was a short-range subliminal influencer. So the scientist puts on the duplication apparatus. Oh, maybe this is the influencer. Maybe it's not the duplication machine. Whatever. He puts it on, and he hooks it up to the thing. And when he activates it, we get this great red panel with the yellow spotlighting on him coming from the right. And he's turning slowly into the thing. And what that does is it turns the thing back into the human Ben Grimm. And now our scientist, our imposter, says, first phase is complete. Now I have to practice speaking exactly like the real orange-skinned thing. We cut to the Baxter building, the FF headquarters, where Reed Richards is working passionately and diligently on some kind of science experiment, like he pretty much is in every issue. He's working through dinner, and he's explaining that he's got to give the Earth some weapon to fight against extraterrestrial menaces, such as Galactus. Because again, that just wrapped up in the previous issue, and he knows it's not going to be the last time. Another thing is going to come up, and he wants Earth to be prepared for that kind of threat. So our imposter Ben shows up, and he's kind of getting acclimated to being the real thing in the group. So when Reed Richards asks him to move this enormous machine, his initial response is, "What, me? Move that?" And they're like, "Yeah, well, stop messing around. Just do it." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm really strong. Yeah, I'll just do that." And so he lifts it up and moves it for them. And in walks the real Ben Grimm, who I guess woke up, and this villain is so smart, he didn't tie up the real Ben Grimm. He just left him unconscious on the couch. So that wore off. And human Ben comes in, and he's screaming about how this guy's an imposter. You got to believe that it's me. And Reed doesn't at first, because they're both, they both look like the Thing and Ben Grimm. They both sound like them. So, they don't really know what to do here. And the imposter gives a display of strength. There's always one of these in each issue too, where there's a random excuse to give the Thing something big to just crush. And I think they do it. Well, I think Kirby does it specifically because he loves to draw like this type of stuff of just mangled, like twisted metal. He's really good at it. It always looks really good. So they don't believe the real human Ben Grimm. he storms off, saying, you know, I ain't gonna bang my head against a stone wall. I'm Ben Grimm, and nothing can change that. I know it, and he knows it. But if you want to play footsie with him, go ahead. What do I care? It's your funeral. Maybe it'll teach you a lesson for once. Reed Richards, boy genius. Ha, what a laugh. Uh, so after he storms off, Reed Richards explains what the actual experiment is that's going on here, and he needs Ben Grimm's help, not realizing that this is an imposter. So Reed says, I'm going to test a machine that I've completed. It's going to give us some kind of defense against intergalactic threats like Silver Surfer or Galactus. And he talks about how those entities have mastered faster than light travel. So we need a defense against that. And so for the safety of Earth, the sake of the human race, man too must break the same barrier. And he pushes a button on this machine that we've been getting glimpses of in the background. And then we finally get the big reveal of what it looks like. And it's Kirby tech at its finest. It's borderline like MC Escher. Like the way, like some of these angles and the way things are interacting with each other, like doesn't make sense. Like I don't know what is happening here at this juncture. I think the colorist got a little confused too and put in the red wall background instead of white. I think that's supposed to be part of the machine. But that's just Kirby going ham. This is Kirby absolutely drawing the shit out of a piece of tech like he's really, really good at. And what this is a portal into subspace, or the negative zone, as it'll come to be known. And Reed is going to go into the negative zone, and he's got a line that's going to feed back out into reality, into the real world. And he needs Ben, because if he ever gets in danger, he's going to yank on the line, so Ben can just pull him back in. So that's what's explained here. That's what's going on. We get a quick cut away to Johnny. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, is in college. It's not the most interesting storyline. I honestly, I would almost like to just skip these pages entirely, but I will keep them in here because I do think they're worth looking at to show off how Jack Kirby can just draw pretty much anything and make it interesting. Like this panel composition here of just all of these students sitting, in a restaurant booth on opposite ends of each other, and the way that it's blocked so that you get Johnny in the foreground as the focal point, and this kind of bully character who's behind him. They stand out very much. They have a little bit of an audience who are all on different angles and facing in different directions. You also get this big hand here in the extreme foreground, just to make sure you're aware that there's someone else with Johnny across from him. Like it's a little square, but it's super interesting. And like that ability to make an uninteresting image interesting is why Jack Kirby is so damn good. Johnny's getting picked on here by this guy who thinks that Johnny's not all that great. Like if he wasn't the Human Torch, he'd be nothing. So they start getting each other's face. And then we got another really awesome panel. See, you know what? I take it back. I am glad this is in here because it's just showing how great Kirby is. Because now Johnny's friend stands up and he is as wide as like 4 people. He's so big in the foreground. This is Wyatt Wingfoot. He's Johnny's college roommate, and he eventually goes on to be like a kind of member of the Fantastic Four, like an honorary member. And he starts standing up for Johnny. And again, all these great faces in the background, the reaction shots. But I love the one of just his broad shoulders, just totally overshadowing everyone else in the background. Great image. More boring story stuff, though, about college life. And we're back at the Baxter building. The experiment's about to begin. And another really good use of color where we can tell he's moving inside the machine now because we have this color separation where outside the machine is the bright yellow and inside the machine is this kind of purple red. So it creates that separation, that depth. And our imposter is starting to have second thoughts because he's saying, I always thought he was just a glamour pants, out for all the dough and glory he could get. But he's tackling a job that won't net him a plugged nickel, and he's doing it without any fanfare or any publicity. So he's starting to realize, like, oh, maybe Reed Richards isn't like, so full of himself. Maybe he is kind of altruistic. So Reed enters the machine and he begins his descent into the negative zone. We get some great Kirby crackle here. This is a trademark of Jack. The black dots, the red background, just to let you know that there's a serious amount of like energy that's being dispersed here and activated. And he crosses the dimensional barrier into the negative zone. We get some slightly psychedelic imagery of him crossing that. I will say, as good as Jack is as that, Steve Ditko was really the one that was great at the psychedelic space imagery. Check out some original Doctor Strange for that. And over here, we get some photo collage. This is something that Jack messed around with a little bit in these early issues, where it's like a photo stat and just collage with a pencil drawing on top of it. Really interesting page, just to see them messing with different techniques and technologies at the time. And Reed is almost immediately in danger. Like he's there, he's taking in this amazing like crossroads of infinity, and he starts to see that this rock that he's standing on and everything around him is being sucked in to this like negative version of Earth. And because all of the matter around him is positive energy and that Earth is negative, it's all just kind of exploding on impact. So he's in danger, and he starts tugging on the line to be brought back in. Really great panel here where of the fear setting in, extreme close-up, washing out the face with yellow. Kirby can draw a man shouting like nobody's business. They always look good. It's always the same face, but it always looks good. He figured it out early, and he goes back to it over and over to great effect. And we're back here where, the imposter has the line, and he's thinking to himself, he's tugging. All I got to do is ignore him, and I'll have beaten the one man I've always envied, the one man no one else could ever defeat. But all of a sudden, I don't envy him anymore. I never knew how brave he was, how unselfish. All these years when I thought I never got the breaks, now I know the truth. It was my fault, nobody else's. I wouldn't work hard enough. I wouldn't make the sacrifices that a Reed Richards would. I never saw things so clear before. It's almost like I've really become the thing, not just an imitation. I never did a worthwhile thing in my whole life, but now I finally got the chance. I can really be Ben Grimm. I've got to do it. I'll save Reed Richards. And so he yanks the line, but he waited too long, and the line snaps when he does it. So now the only thing left for him to do is to charge into the negative zone, enter and find Reed Richards himself. Again, more Kirby crackle, and he's still holding onto the line, and since Reed is also tugging on it, it pulls him in. And so the imposter says, maybe we don't both have to die. He picks Reed Richards up, and he yeets him back through negative space, back to the portal that he just entered from. And he waves farewell, and he sits and he waits for his own fate. And he monologues, as for me, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. Not many men get a second chance to make up for the rotten things they've done in their lifetime. I guess I'm luckier than most. I got that chance, for I finally learned what it means to have a friend. And as he floats off towards the negative Earth to his demise, our real Ben Grimm is going to Alicia's apartment to try to make up, and because of what's happened here, he turns back into the thing, the matter, whatever cycle, the technobabble caused them to switch the first time. They switch back, and he runs off to go back to the Baxter building, where Reed has come back through the portal, and he's saying, I owe Ben my life. He saved me, and he's completely tortured and beat up about it. And the real thing shows up, and deduces, oh, the imposter must have done something. He must have bit the dust. So he walks in. He says, "Hey, you can stop your crying. That was the imposter. I'm back. I'm fine." And Reed and Sue embrace the thing. He asks, "What happened? What's going on?" And they explain that it's too late now, old friend. We'll never know what monstrous things he had done in the past or what monstrous plans he had made. But one thing is certain: he paid the full price, and he paid it like a man. Next issue, they're going to introduce this character called the Black Panther. Really nothing character, doesn't really amount to anything in the end. But that is it. That was the little standalone issue in between the Galactus trilogy and the introduction of Black Panther. My favorite issue of Fantastic Four. We'll take a look at some of these great shirts. I like this one. I wish I can get a cut. I honestly wish I can get one of these shirts where the front of it is "Here comes the Incredible Hulk," and on the back of it, it's his back that says "There goes the Incredible Hulk." So ridiculous. No good letters that I looked through. But yeah, that is it. That is the end of Fantastic 451. Let me know what you thought about that. Let me know if there's anything that I missed that you thought was particularly good in this issue. And leave suggestions for future things that you might want to see me go through like this on the channel. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. But now it's time to get back to reading.